Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Breakthrough Code Show. Instead of having a guest today, this is going to be a solo episode where I'm going to be talking to you. And I'm going to be talking to you about something that I have a lot of passion for. If you've read my books or seen my podcast, you know that I have a lot of passion for helping people create breakthroughs. I wrote a book called The Breakthrough Code, which this podcast is also named after. And when you work with people that are wanting to transform their lives, they work really, really hard in many cases, but they don't get the transformation that they're looking for. And today, I'm going to be sharing with you some of the truth about what you need to do to transform your life. And it's going to be a little bit different than maybe what you hear in other situations or from other people that are trying to say, do this one little thing and then you're going to transform your life. I wish it were the case that you could do one little thing one time and you could transform your life, and it may be the case, but in most cases, that's not going to be true. So I don't want to tamper your expectations too much, because maybe you are the person that will do one thing one time and your life changes forever. But for most people, it's going to take more than that. And so the truth about how to transform your life starts with understanding of who you really are. You're not your body. If you were just your body and your brain and what we think of ourselves most of the time as, unfortunately, then it really is hard to change, because 3D matter is hard to change. It takes lots of effort and energy, and it's hard to change. But you're more than your body. You actually are a spiritual being that's inhabiting your body. And because you are a spiritual being, your spiritual part of you, that soul, that part of who you really truly are, not just this body you're inhabiting for this lifetime, it can change actually easily. And it's very much unlimited. You have virtually no limits in the spiritual realm of who you are. You were created by a creator that was unlimited, which is really exciting to know. And because we come into this body, though, we start to accept some limitations of the 3D world, the earth, right? This can happen, but that can't. In reality, there really are no limits. That's why I said in my book, The Breakthrough Code, the subtitle is How to Live a Life Without Limits, how to really start to see ourselves more as unlimited and not dictated by who we are in this body, or actually who we were yesterday and the day before, our past. Our past is our limitation. And you might say, well, I've got a good past, right? I've done some really great things. Yes, you have. And at the same time, if you want to move forward, you cannot live in the past. The obstacle to your transformation, the obstacle to my transformation, the obstacle to everybody's transformation is our past. Judging ourselves by who we were a minute ago, a second ago, a month ago, a year ago, 30 years ago. When we define ourselves by that, we do start to limit ourselves. And most people, because they do judge themselves by their past, and it's funny, like when I'm in trainings and I'm talking about, how unlimited you are, or maybe even more of a tactical training where I'm coaching somebody on how to become a better speaker. And they come up with things like, well, I always get nervous before I give a presentation. And I know that that's not true. I know that they don't always have to get nervous in the future, but they're judging themselves by their past, because every time they got up to give a presentation in the past, they got nervous. But heck, come on. Do you have a food that you like now that you didn't used to like? I bet you do. I do, right? I didn't like sushi. I hated sushi. Now I love sushi. My wife kind of turned me on to it when we were dating, and I'd say, where do you want to go eat? And she said, sushi. I was, sushi, right? But she got her way, right? I said, let's go. And it was great. Like, I learned to really like sushi. So that was a food I didn't used to like. My past version of me did not like. My present version and my future version, I'm sure will like. We used to all wear diapers when we were growing up. How many are wearing a diaper now? And if you are, don't let me know about it, right? I'm getting to the age where down the road, I'll wear a diaper again, but not now. We don't define ourselves by who we were when we were 1 year old or 6 months old or 10 years old. Like we look back at ourselves, we look at high school pictures and go, oh my gosh, how did I ever wear that? Like I look so silly. My hair, what was wrong with my hair? What was I thinking? So when we look far enough back in the future, we can say, yeah, that was ridiculous. But what I want you to be able to do is look at yourself 5 minutes ago. Like if you had an instant replay of who you were 5 minutes ago, there's a lot of great stuff that you want to pull forward. I'm not saying it's all wrong. Don't get me wrong, right? You are great. You are amazing. You're perfect just the way you are right now. And you have potential to become even more perfect, right? To become even more happy and healthy and loving and prosperous. And the past is trying to hold you back to where you are right now, which is not where you want to be a year from now or 2 years from now. That would mean you wouldn't have grown at all. How boring would that be? Many people have what is called a fixed mindset. They literally believe that they are only capable of what they've proven to be capable of in the past. Now, people with a fixed mindset, what does that prevent them from doing? From growing. They'll always say, I'm only good at this. I'm not good at that. I don't want to try that. I don't even like that. I would never like that. How do you know? With a fixed mindset, you lock yourself in and it's very hard to manifest. It's hard to transform your life. What do you want to have? You want to have a growth mindset. So a growth mindset might believe that in the past I wasn't good at something, but I can grow into whatever I want to be good at. I can learn whatever I want to learn. I can transform. With a growth mindset, it doesn't mean that everything's always perfect and everything is always easy, but it means that you can grow. And if you make a mistake while you're growing, it's okay because it's just another learning experience. What kind of mindset do you have? You have a fixed mindset? You have a growth mindset. And if you have a fixed mindset, you can change it. You don't have to continue just having a fixed mindset, limiting you to who you were in the past. You can shift into a growth mindset. I actually believe when I was younger, I had a pretty much a fixed mindset. I used to think that I was only so good at certain things. And fortunately, I don't even know how I learned this, but I adopted a growth mindset. And one of the most exciting things for me in being alive and in this human experience is learning and growing and trying things that I didn't used to like or I didn't used to be good at. When I first started applying this to my life as an adult, actually, I remember a funny story when I was talking with my wife one day, and she said she was going to go to a book club. And she'd never gone before, but it was the first time she was going to go to this book club that was being formed by a company, Lululemon. Lululemon was just starting many, many years ago, and they had this little book club they were forming in a town near us. And she was going to go to this book club, and they were going to discuss a book called Eat, Pray, Love. And I had just been studying, like, why are people lucky? Why do some people get great things happening for them and other people always seem to have this bad luck or at least not great luck? And one of the things that lucky people tend to have, and this is something you can try to, is they tend to have this adventurous spirit. They try things and they don't always do the same old thing. And, you know, they might drive a different way to work one day, just for the heck of it, right? Just to get out of their comfort zone, get out of their rut. And so I was reading about that and I was like, I normally wouldn't want to go to a book club, especially discussing a book I hadn't read. I hadn't read the book, Eat, Pray, Love. And so I told my wife, I said, hey, can I come with you? And she said, no, I don't, you don't need to come. Like, I'm going to go. It's going to be fine. You just stay home, relax, do whatever you want to do. And I think it was like on a Saturday or something. I said, no, I really want to go. And she was trying to talk me out of it because she didn't really want her husband. I think it was going to be a group of all women. I'm not sure. Actually, it ended up being a group of all women. And she knew I hadn't read the book. And she said, you haven't read the book. You know, why do you want to go? I said, because I just want to try something different. And so anyways, I showed up to this book club, not having read the book. I think I'd heard a little bit about it, through people. It was very popular back in the day. And so I just sat in there and I listened and I learned. And then they asked me for, a take, and kind of gave my take based upon what I learned. And I had a really great time. I had a really good time. And it was something that I never would have probably done had I not learned that having a growth mindset, which I already had a pretty good growth mindset, but trying things that you normally wouldn't try was a key to just expanding your ability to manifest and create luck. And so it was a really cool experience. And I still kind of tease my wife about it. You didn't want me to come. And I added some value. Like, actually, my comments, people said I added some value, even though I hadn't read the book. So you might not need to go to book club, but I want you to keep expanding. I want you to try something today. What could you try today? Maybe it's a food. Maybe it's a conversation. Maybe it's looking at a book in a bookstore or online, or Googling something, or using ChatGPT to find out something that normally you wouldn't have dove into, right? You wouldn't have been maybe quite as curious about. So try something to create a fixed mindset today, and then just do it through time. If you open your door with the right hand every time, open the door with your left hand. If you get into the car a certain way, get in a little bit different way. Like, mix it up a little bit so that your past is not defining you. When you start mixing it up a little bit, the past is almost like, hey, what's going on here? You throw it for a loop, and it creates more opening for you to grow. All right, so I want to give you 3 ideas. This is not going to be a long episode. I want to give you 3 ideas that you can apply today to transform at a more rapid rate. Now, remember, you are a spiritual being. And also remember, everything's just energy. That's why things can change. They're just energy. And there are infinite amounts of versions of you that you can change into. There's no limitations. You can become whoever you want to be. They say in quantum physics, there's already an infinite amount of realities of you, versions of you that are existing in thought form that can be made real, because everything's energy. Energy follows your thoughts. So as we think a thought, we literally are directing energy with that thought. And then if we think a thought enough and we correct to it enough, we stay to it enough, then those thoughts become things. They become versions of ourselves. They become things that we are creating in the outer world. I wrote the book, The Breakthrough Code, because I wanted to show people how to shift energy, how to shift reality, how to create a better reality than what just their past self was going to create. And it does take work. So there's 3 things that I want you to start to focus on. Number 1, every day, create a vision of your future, your desired future. And it's going to change, because as you start creating the future that yesterday you were envisioning, now you get to create a grander and even better future. But create a vision of your future and connect to it. Now, when can you do that? Best times to do it are right when you wake up, and then right before you go to bed, and then maybe throughout the day, but you don't need to do it a ton. And we talked about in the book, The Breakthrough Code, I want you to see it, feel it, and believe it. So with the future, I want you to literally you'll be in a relaxed state. You'll be in an alpha state typically when you wake up, alpha brainwave state. So almost like a hypnotic state. It's easy to get into the superconscious. So when you're relaxed, you just want to envision yourself. Like, use your imagination. Einstein said imagination is more important than knowledge, because knowledge is based upon the past, things that we've known, things that can be proven. Imagination is unlimited. Like, go as big as you want in your imagination with your future self, but envision it. Use your imagination, see it, feel it, believe it, just dance around in it. And don't be pulled back into, well, that's not who I am. Like, we're imagining it. We're creating thought that energy can follow and start to make real. So you got to do this. It's really important. I just did it this morning. I do it every morning. I just lay in bed and I just imagine this really cool future that's exciting to get up and go make happen. I might not achieve it all in one day, but I'm excited to go work on it. Most people are not excited to get out of bed. And before I was doing this work, some days I wasn't that excited to get out of bed. Now I'm excited to get out of bed. I'm in love with life because I've got this future that I'm working towards building. I'm working towards making happen, making it real. So every morning and every night, you want to create a vision of your future and really latch onto it and make it real and get excited about it. And in the evening, what you can do is you can also envision the things you did that day that are making it more real. And I'm going to give you a little bit more to do. So this is just step one, right? You want to have a clear vision of your future. Okay. Step two, decide who you are going to be and decide who you are not going to be anymore. And this is something I do in the morning and in the evening too. And then I work on it throughout the day. So you got to have a clear vision of who you are. And then you have to ask yourself, who am I not going to be anymore? Like, what am I not going to do anymore? What am I not going to think anymore? What am I not going to associate to anymore? What are the things you have to leave behind? And you always have to leave behind something in order to move forward. If you kept everything the same, you wouldn't be able to move forward. It's like, it'd be like carrying a zillion pound weight forward. So you have to leave something, not everything. You can take parts of you that you really think are fitting of this vision of the future. You can take those forward, but you have to leave some things behind. And what is it? What are the thoughts that I'm thinking or that I've thought in the past that just aren't right for this vision of the future? What are the behaviors? What are the reactions that I know aren't right anymore? And you want to identify some of those. So if you don't identify them ahead of time, you don't know what to look for. Because during the day, what you want to be able to do is course correct. You want to notice, ooh, that was a reaction that I just had when I had one the other day, for instance. We were driving in the car, my wife and I, and we were coming back from, a fun little outing. And then we were in a conversation, and then she asked a question that in my mind was a question that was triggering me, right? Or was going to trigger me, my old self. And I noticed it because I knew that was something I wanted to leave behind. And so my initial response would have been maybe like a little, comeback that wasn't going to be that nice, that might lead to an argument. But instead of letting my old self, and by the way, your old self is going to fight, hey, get in there, respond the way you used to. Your old self is going to fight to stay alive. But parts of your old self, they've served their purpose. They don't need life anymore. They're done, right? Let it go. And I felt myself getting ready to respond in a way that wasn't going to be that nice and was going to probably lead to an argument. And I could have blamed my wife. Well, she shouldn't have said that question, but it was a great learning experience. Maybe that question that she was saying was exactly what I needed. I believe it was exactly what I needed to course correct and to be able to have more control over who I wanted to be. And so what I did was I noticed it. I noticed how I was feeling. And instead of responding or instead of reacting, right, I responded and I just kind of let it pass over and I didn't really answer. And then it just kind of blew over. It was no big deal. And I wasn't like, oh, wasn't I such a great person? I didn't get into an argument. It's just like, no, I needed to correct that response in me, that reaction. I needed to correct that. That was something now that I became better and more capable of being this vision I have of my future self, this vision that's not dictated by the past. See how many times you can do that in a day. How many times can you notice? Don't beat yourself up. And by the way, if you notice it, like, don't, oh, you're terrible. No, hey, you're great. You noticed a behavior that was popping up, a feeling that was popping up, a version of the past that was popping up that now you can say, teach the brain, I don't want this. And you can correct it. So you want to be course correcting throughout the day. Some people think, I can meditate for an hour in the morning. And I'm asking you to meditate a little bit on a vision of the future in the morning and a vision of the future in the evening. But what are you doing between the evening and the morning? You meditate for an hour, let's say. What are you doing the other 15 hours you're awake? Are you in tune with where you want to go? When an airplane takes off from where I live in San Diego, let's say it's flying to New York, is it always perfectly on the path? No. As a matter of fact, most of the time it's not. But the pilot or the automatic pilot, probably in the case of an airplane in today's day and time, is course correcting. And so it ends up where it needs to be. Was it perfect all the time? No. Did it need to be? No. Right? The course corrections allowed it to get to where it wants to go. That's what we need to do as human beings. Course correct throughout the day. Notice, there's certain things I'm working on right now in the vision of my future self, where maybe during the day, I'll notice my thinking has reverted back to maybe an old way of thinking, a past version of myself. Do I beat myself up? No, I just notice. And you know what I do? A little thing you can do too. I just kind of, almost like you're taming a wild horse. I just kind of tap my leg. Go, hey, get back over here. Get back over here. Don't go in that direction. Get back over there. And I put the thought that I want back in. I put the emotion, the feeling that I want back in. And I use my body, right? I kind of tap my body, get back over here, because the body typically is based in the past. People that have illnesses, their illnesses are based in the past. The body could become whole and healthy, but as long as we look at ourselves as this past version of our body, then what happens is we're dictated to having that illness continue on. That's what happens in a lot of chronic illnesses. People are saying, I have this disease. They're identifying by the disease. You almost have to let go of that identification. You could say the body has the disease. I don't have the disease, right? I'm not the body. And I can recreate the body. I can create the body in a healthier way moving forward, because I can change energy with my mind, right? That's what we're talking about. We can start to change the environment, or what in the quantum world is called the field of energy around us that's creating our reality. And I'm not going to go super deep into that, but we are creating our reality as we go through life. We say, no, it's that person, it's this, it's the president, it's the this, it's the that. You are creating your reality. You're creating what you see, feel, believe, and what you manifest. All those things can be happening in the outside world, but it's what you create in your mind that actually makes whatever is real for you. That's why two people can look at the same situation. One person can be excited about it, and another person can be heartbroken about it. There's no real reality outside of what you are creating for you. That's what you have control over. And you actually can create a reality where in the toughest times you're inspired versus feeling defeated. But you've got to course correct. You've got to notice yourself moving away from where you want to go. And hey, get back over here, McCarthy. Come on, get back over here. And then decide how you want to be. So we're deciding what we're going to leave behind. We're also deciding what thoughts we want to move forward with, what feelings we want to move forward with, what beliefs we want to move forward with. So part of your exercise is every day, remind yourself when you're going to visualize this great future for you, but then remind yourself during that day what you're going to leave behind, what is not going to move forward with you. So when it shows up, you know it, you're already prepared, you can move it away, okay? And then you're also going to identify what are the thoughts, the beliefs, the emotions that you are going to be creating during the day. Like, choose how you're going to feel. It's one of the greatest gifts we've been given. Like, we get to choose what we think. We get to choose what we feel. We get to choose how we're going to show up. Someone was talking the other day, and I was listening to it, and it made sense. In the US, we have this huge political debate, and people are so entrenched. And this guy said, I don't think that there's two political parties anymore. He said, I think there's people that can decide for themselves how they want to think and feel, and they can decide what's good, what's really, truly good. Not just, I'm right, you're wrong, but what's good. And then he said, and then there's people that really are just programmed and they're not choosing how they think and feel. And I think that's probably true, right? And not beating anybody up, but just like, can you choose how you think and feel today? Yes, you can. You're one of those ones that can. So choose what's good for you. Choose what's good for you and other people, right? Choose what's really good. Choose a good thought that makes you feel better, that makes you more capable of doing what you're doing. Choose a good belief. Don't go by someone else's belief. They're just trying to scare you into some behavior. Choose a belief that empowers you. And don't choose to be afraid. Choose to be bold. Choose to be courageous. Choose to move forward. Choose to help others. Okay? You have that in you. Choose to be prosperous. Choose to be healthy. And when you make that choice, it doesn't mean that everything, bam, automatically changes for you. You've got to make the choice consistent, and you've got to choose less of the opposite of what you are choosing to move forward with. You've got to let go of that. But when you start to do that, you're moving forward, right? So two things. Number one, create a vision of your future and connect to it. Decide who you're going to be and who you're no longer going to be. And then make sure that throughout the day, you're actually working on it. And then number three is act in accordance with your future self. Make decisions and take actions that are in alignment with who you are going to be, right? Who you are right now, not your past. Your past is very predictable. Your future does not have to be predictable. You can change from your past into a future that your past would never have created. That's the beautiful thing. That's the empowering thing about you as this spiritual being living in a human body. So listen, I wrote the book, The Breakthrough Code, because I wanted more people, and I do this show, The Breakthrough Code, because I wanted more people to realize you don't have to be stuck. You will get stuck. I get stuck, but we don't have to stay stuck. And we can get unstuck. But what is the biggest thing it takes? Time spent on transforming you. Most people aren't spending any time transforming themselves. They want the outside world to change, but they're not willing to change inside. The outside is just a reflection of what's inside of you. So create a vision that's inspiring, that makes you want to transform yourself to become this greater version of who you could be. And then number two, figure out what you need to leave behind, figure out what you're going to move forward with, and then course correct. Start leaving behind things and then course correct by supplementing or substituting with these new thoughts that might not make sense based upon where you are. Like if you are chronically ill based upon the past, and now all of a sudden you're starting to think thoughts about health and happiness and joy and all these great things, it might not make sense logically because you're like, well, I'm not there yet. Yeah, of course you're not. You're transforming. You're transforming into that. Same thing with prosperity. Someone might start up a business and I want them to think of themselves already having a prosperous, dynamic business that people are loving and getting served by and gladly paying for services, and lots of opportunities are coming into. But that might not seem logical when you're just starting it and you're trying to get your first client. Don't go by what's logical. Play in your mind. Use your imagination. Make it real inside of you. And it will become, if you really do that, it will become real outside of you in a way you least expect, not in a logical way, in a way that you least expect. And we'll talk more about that in the future. But I hope this helps you. And if it does help you, let other people know about it. Let them know about my podcast. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed, but let more people know about it. We've been ranking very, very highly on all the charts. But I'm so glad you listened, and please let more people know about it, especially this issue. If you know someone who's stuck, let them know that they can transform. All it takes is time and some commitment. But when you look back 5 years later in life, Think about it. When you look back to now, you're going to look back now and go, oh my gosh, I have grown so much. My life is so amazing. And then every day, starting right now, practice gratitude. Be thankful for where you are right now and all the lessons you're getting to learn. And also be thankful for all the gifts that you get every day. Even those gifts, like I had when my wife asked that question that was kind of like, right? But I'm like, hey, that was really cool. I needed that. I needed that. I needed that to grow. Be thankful for everything. Life is always working in your favor. So I'm rooting for you. I'm your biggest fan. Go out and have a great day today, not just for part of the day. Course correct. Notice yourself doing great things and tap yourself on the back, and notice when you need to, hey, get back over here. Come on now. All right. Have a great day. We'll see you soon.